feet. What if we get caught?
If the council feel they're getting shafted, then anything is possible, and the deck is stacked very firmly in their favour.
But in the end, Derek Black decided that their cunning plan should go ahead. He decided that 3G didn't require them to say anything. If they did, the council would know about 3G, and that would affect their bargaining position. So provided the new antenna looked more or less the same as the old, he said,
"Just do it. No pre or post notice, consultation or anything. Trust this is clear and you agree."
We took our evidence that T-Mobile had been deliberately misleading Westminster City Council straight to the top.
You've seen the emails referring to T-Mobile's strategy review. What do you think of that kind of approach?
If they're not paying the charges they should be for 3G installations on our buildings, then it's no different to walking into the council offices and taking cash out of the till. You know, they're denying money to people who use social services, the disabled, the elderly, children in care, as well as people who rely on having their streets cleaned and all the rest of it. It's just, you know, denying money to the public purse that should be there and therefore is of concern.
A senior T-Mobile source told us that their 3G strategy wasn't just confined to Westminster, that when other councils said no, T-Mobile sometimes just went ahead anyway. Emails suggest this might have saved them hundreds of thousands of public.
Definitely something unfair about somebody coming into a community and saying, spend your money on our phones and use our service, but we're not willing to pay in full for the right to be in that community.
We put our evidence to Derek Black, but he says a confidentiality agreement with T-Mobile means he can't answer our questions. It's been suggested, however, that he did raise concerns about the strategy with more senior executives, but was told to get on with it. T-Mobile denied it had ever had a strategy to mislead councils, insisting that it's committed to responsible network development and complies with planning legislation and contractual agreements. They declined an interview. For the final part of our investigation, we decided to hit the road. On our journey through Britain, we tracked down the swanky pads of the big five phone bosses to see if any of them had phone masts as neighbours. Imagine our surprise when we discovered that none of them had masts within the 200-metre zone where the government report recommended caution. The one with a mast closest to his home was Orange's Sanjeev Ahuja. Bet he gets great reception. Our investigation into how many schools had masts near them was finally complete. We checked every single school and found that 2,350 had a mast nearby. That's nearly 1 in 10. If you want your kids to get good reception, pack them off to the very centre of London. Here, every school has its own mast nearby. But if you're worried about masts being close to schools, you've got quite a move to make, all the way to the Isles of Scilly. Not a mast in sight. On the other hand, you can never get a decent phone signal. Remember the 10 commitments and the promises about consultation? So did the company stick to their own rules about masts near schools? We tested the 3 operators who had 3G networks up and running. According to the schools we spoke to, they were all pretty bad. Both Free UK and T-Mobile hadn't bothered to consult in 75% of cases. But the wooden spoon goes to Vodafone, with 80% of schools not consulted. That makes an industry-wide failure rate of 76%. Malcolm Noble works for the Secondary Heads Association, and it's his members who weren't consulted.
We found that in 76% of cases there was no consultation. Do you find that acceptable?
Well, of course it isn't acceptable. This is evidence that self-regulation is not working. And so in one sense, disappointment, yes, but on the other hand, it's given us hard information to prove what many of us felt was the case anyway, that self-regulation was not working and will not work.
We wanted to speak to all the phone companies about our survey, but they didn't want to talk. They preferred to send written statements. Free UK says it takes these issues seriously and works to ensure there is transparency. T-Mobile says it endeavours to provide information and engage with local authorities. Vodafone says that some mast sites were run by another company that should have consulted on their behalf, and says it's worked very hard to make sure deployment teams and agents consult with schools. But it also says under the rules many sites did not require consultation because 3G was added to an existing mast. So hang on a minute, Vodafone is claiming if 3G happens to be installed on a pole that's already there, close to a school, they're exempt from consulting. They don't have to bother. It would mean a huge number of the company's 3G masts could be installed on the quiet. So much for the 10 commitments on openness and transparency. Meanwhile, we hadn't forgotten about our friends at T-Mobile and the way they tried to hoodwink Westminster Council over 3G plans. So we decided to pop round to see them.
We're just here to do a bit of maintenance. And we need to get some access, is that alright?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to get in onto your property and get up on the rooftops and do a bit of maintenance.
We thought the maintenance line T-Mobile used on Westminster might work, that they wouldn't notice us installing our mast.
Okay chaps, so we may still have some work to do, so just stay there.
It was starting to look like the men from T-Mobile were too smart for us. They were seeing through our cunning plan.
All it was really was we wanted to put a 3G mast up and call it maintenance, because that's what T-Mobile did. Is that alright?
I can't comment,
right.
And we obviously can't let you
sure.
on site at this stage. 150.
We ended up with the press office on the phone.
We had a 3G mast outside and we wanted to put it up and call it maintenance, because that's what T-Mobile did. Is that alright?
Not getting much help on that, so I tried a new tack.
What we could do is, I've also got with me the 10 commitments to refresh your memory a bit, refresh T-Mobile's memory. So I was going to present that to one of you. Is there anyone from the T-Mobile press office that could come down and collect that? Or anyone from T-Mobile?
It wasn't looking good, and the security men were threatening to wheel clamp us.
Well, we're just here temporarily. It's just that we wanted to give T-Mobile a free 3G mast.
Right, well I'm going to...
we were kind of donating it to them.
I'll give you the opportunity to move it now.
Right.
It's up
right,
to you.
okay.
I've been nice about it, but
sure.
You parked in front of a blue sign as well.
How long have we got?
You got literally 2 seconds.
Have we got time to do a bit of maintenance work first?
You've got 2 seconds and then I'll go and clamp it.
Right, okay.
T-Mobile managed to get away with a maintenance trick in Westminster. It looks like we're out of luck. It's getting harder and harder to offload these masts. If only we'd slipped Tony Blair a couple of billion. Life could be so much easier.